Hi, it's Tacticus, and in my last video I had a look at Onslaught in general and who to honor best. Onslaught is a game mode I don't enjoy much. I asked for your ideas on how to improve the mode and got a lot of interesting comments. I combine and expand those ideas with my own to see what Onslaught could do better. Thank you so much for everyone who commented. I really enjoy the interaction with you. Sometimes it becomes hard to answer you all, but I read them all and I try to answer whenever I can. You can support me in-game by using my referral code BAD60ADO for 100 Blackstone for you and various rewards for me when you reach certain milestones. If you want to connect with me and other creators more, you can join our new Discord server, Tactical Retreat, in the comments. There were of course comments that said they really liked Onslaught. The main argument here seemed to be the rewards, and I'm not going to argue. Those are generally great. Let's see what irks me about the mode. It takes really long to play. The gameplay loop becomes a bit stale after a while, and the randomness of the rewards can lead to feel bad moments. Let's start with the last point. ParaGR states that the rewards weren't that bad and a guaranteed legendary orb additional to the normal rewards at every level would be optimal. While I totally understand that more is more, Tacticus economy has to be balanced to a certain extent with player expectations. Legendary orbs become a huge bottleneck at some point, and I really wish I had more, but one every single Onslaught would soon make them really ubiquitous. It would also feel quite odd to receive those at lower levels, so we'd probably need them in tiers. An additional chance would still leave us with a chance, and I bet that people would still be disappointed if they ended up with only the guaranteed reward without the extra. JSBags also adds that having more orbs in isolation would just get us more legendary Stone 1 characters, which might be true. I still can't deny that getting more characters you already invested in to Blue Star could help with Archeotech gain, so I wouldn't be absolutely against an increase. My first idea was to balance the random chance with longer token timers, but for one I think that we get them rarely enough and we would probably have to rebalance it around the higher tiers, not only of characters, but of course in the tracks as well. Let's say we want the legendary orbs at 100%. We would need to double the timer. That wouldn't make much sense, and having a chance at the second orb or badge for lower tier runs only into disappointment again when not getting the additional item. Why not add another currency? Hear me out, I haven't gone crazy. We have enough already, I know. But what about adding a shop tab to Onslaught? And instead of giving us only a chance at an orb or badge, giving us orb shards and badge shards. Let's maybe call them fragments instead, just for distinction. The shop would of course need to be able to buy the articles indefinitely, which is unheard in today's systems. With the current crafting systems, the numbers would be pretty high, but instead of 50% chance for a legendary orb, we could get 50% of the fragments needed for a legendary orb. Let's say a single fragment gives you an uncommon orb, 10 fragments would be a rare orb, 100 fragments an epic orb, and 1000 orb fragments a legendary orb, using the conversion rate that is in game right now. That gives you a guaranteed orb every 2 tokens, eliminates all lucky and unlucky streaks, and moves away from the otherwise outdated jar system. It would also be a great way to let you choose your rewards. If you don't need your 500 orb fragments for half a legendary orb, you can just buy 5 epic orbs with them. This also completely removes the need for a downgrading system for orbs and badges a lot of people have been asking for. Even if you can't go for a high level orb normally, you could save up for a better one by farming for a few days. This would counteract the atrocious cost of crafting if you have the patience to go for it. I would dare to say it eliminates the need for forged badges, period. Snowprint wouldn't want to anger people that have hoarded them, as of course a lot of players have. Who spends those anyways? Other than me and some viewers, but we all feel very bad about it. Just exchange them into badge and orb fragments. That gives players a starting point and a nice boost at the beginning while not devaluating them. The same should of course apply to badges. Let's say you don't want common badges today. No problem, just invest your badge fragments into higher tier badges. As badges have a 5:1 ratio to craft better ones, let's start at 1 shard for 1 common badge again. That makes uncommon badges cost 5 fragments, rare badges 25 fragments, epic badges 125 fragments, and legendary badges 625 fragments. Currently, you get 1 common, 1 uncommon, 2 rare and 2 epic badges every onslaught from sector 22 on. That would get you 306 badge fragments, and on the last level of sector, where you get the legendary badge, it's 806 badge fragments, which you could invest however you like. How can we ensure that people don't just build one alliance and farm their own badges and orbs of them? Onslaught is meant to be a mode where you use one alliance to farm resources for another. Simple. Instead of the old forge badges, we need alliance forge badges to buy orbs and badges. So you've got 500 orb fragments, only half a legendary orb and 5 epic orbs. But also, technically, 500 uncommon orbs. That's too many. So you get, let's say, 2 Xenos forge badges when honoring a Xenos. That way you can spend it on 2 lower level orbs instead of a big one you can't afford, and passively save for the bigger orbs later. For former badge chances, it gives you 2 forge badges of the alliance of the hero you're honoring. I think we can just have one kind of forge badge for both orbs and badges to not bloat the system too much. With the shards you get for defeating the 6 waves, you can just get 6 forge badges of the alliance those badges would have been for. So Chaos Forge badges for the Imperial track, Xenos Forge badges for the Chaos track, and Imperial Forge badges for the Xenos track. Implementing this system would work even if nothing else was changed, but gives us players a lot more agency without having to change the mode around too much or implementing a lot of other systems. We don't even really need a shop for that, and could implement it like crafting is now. Click on the item you need in the character menu and get a pop-up to craft them needs-oriented. To increase the rewards a little, we have a dedicated day in the week that basically works to double the salvage run rewards. Why not have increased shard rewards for Onslaught on Sundays, when you're playing it either way for the experience? A little side note on forge badges. Yeah, they are also used to craft equipment items. Just don't. The salvage cost is steep as it is. Rewards sorted, but the game mode is still either very relaxing to you or really boring, depending on who you ask. We want to make it more exciting to play. I would go as far as to say that we don't need to decrease the time that Onslaught takes, as long as it is fun. Ishalambu6446 states survival is the superior Onslaught, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's also long to play, gives good rewards, and comes around roughly once a day. At average, we had 12-hour and 24-hour timers. I do like survival. It's something new. But what makes it so? Survival is an event, and we start anew each time. I would love to retain the progression feeling Onslaught has, so I would neither prefer to have level caps, nor to have increasing difficulty during the mode. The two should still be separate things. But I do like the upgrades that survival has. Upgrades are pretty rare and only come up in tournament arena sometimes, and in a limited way in incursion, so adding them to another mode would give them more purpose. Ishalambu imagines this perfect Onslaught as a tower defense type mode, with buffs to make your character stronger and more turrets to make it more epic. This sounds amazing, but would require radically different maps and be hard to balance at first. We do, however, have a lot of maps from legendary release events we could use if we needed more variety. Hey, the maps are fine, you might say, and they are, but look at poor Onslaught. You get, really, 3.5 enemy types. That's so boring. Yes, a lot of Tyranids is thematic, but we are in the 41st millennium. If you're mighty enough, you can have an epic last stand against pretty much everything. The maps would rather be used to fit to the setting of the enemies you choose. I don't know, a simple palette swap of the maps that exist might be fine. Power scaling is all over the place in Warhammer 40k. Ismael Santos wants more factions to play against, and we have enough pretty much fully fledged factions we could play against. All campaign enemies, all legendary event enemies, and now, with Incursion, even Sisters of Battle and the Death Guard. Let us choose our enemies, or make them tied to the level we're at. Maybe change them around every sector. To make rewards more thematic, defeating waves could either give us forge badges for the opponent's alliance, or even minor upgrades for the faction you defeated, depending on the sector you're at. You could exclude the faction of the enemy you're fighting if you get a choice of enemy, but if the enemies are tied to sectors, that shouldn't happen, so you can choose on who to work as you can now. Toe Bump wants an extremist mode for Onslaught to make it faster with less waves and tougher enemies. That would make gameplay faster, but depending on how hard the enemies are, it might not actually be and be too similar to Arena. I like the idea of bosses though, as people seem to like the single player bosses in the campaign events. Let's make the end of the sector more exciting. By giving the legendary badge as a reward for defeating it, instead of a wave, you're facing a character from that faction and some lackeys, or even a single bigger boss to make you earn your badge. Ismael Santos also makes the suggestion of giving optional difficulty settings for increased or decreased rewards. That could help even out the difficulty spikes of bosses and would also be easy to do by just changing around the values of the new fragments you're getting for the level. Otherwise, it would pose the risk of getting stuck on one level. In synopsis, I propose the following changes. The length is fine as long as the mode is engaging. Give us varying enemy factions for Onslaught, including bosses on the last levels of sectors. This can go along with new maps and optional difficulty levels to avoid getting stuck. The random rewards often feel bad, and you don't always need the rarity of orbs and badges you get. This could be remedied by exchanging the chances for orb and badge fragments, which players can use however they see fit. To limit abuse and keep the general reward structure faction-specific forge badges could limit players' ability to use those new resources. Having those fragments would finally be a chance to remove the abysmal crafting system we have at the moment. Bottom line, the rewards would be the same, not upsetting the current in-game economy, but be more flexible for players. What do you think? Would you like Onslaught better with those changes? If I didn't mention your comment, I'm sorry, I couldn't possibly fit it all. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel to stay up to date. Thank you all for discussing with me. I'd see you in the next one.